You guys hear me in the back all right? Is it clear?
Yes.
All right. I'll speak slowly for those who just made the request. Now, I want to thank everybody here for coming out tonight. I know we were scheduled to do this in December, and the weather got pretty poor then, and we rescheduled for January. And it looks like the weather outside is turning poor as well, so I don't know what the DOT, there's a correlation there or what, but I'm glad you all braved the cold and braved the fog that rolled in to make it out tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Nolan Schroeder. I'm the city administrator for Hot Springs. I grew up in Hot Springs, went out and got my education and came back here last December and started this position. Tonight we have the DOT making a presentation for the proposed downtown redesign for 2020 and 2021. We're very grateful for them showing up, taking the time to seek our input as a community, and I'm very grateful to all of you for coming out as well to be a part of the conversation. Now this project that we're about to discuss, from an engineering perspective, it's got to be an engineer's worst nightmare. The sheer fact that DOT is so anxious to undertake it, I'm grateful alone for that. What we're considering doing here tonight is, or doing in this project, is redesigning a highway that goes through a historic district with buildings that date back to the 19th century. It's in the middle of a canyon, so we've got drainage issues from both sides. It's parallel to a river, so we have DE&R and Corps of Engineers issues all parallel to it. On top of that, our town, as you all know, isn't the easiest to navigate. We've got lots of topography. Our downtown doesn't follow a grid system. Basically, it follows the hills and it follows the river. It winds and it flows. And so the sheer fact that the DOT is ready to tackle this, I'm very grateful. And I have a lot of respect for the engineers for the hard work they're doing already and they're about to do as we undertake this project. One other thing I should bring up is that, well, I'll step back just a little bit. One thing that we ask of the public is, this is an informational opportunity for all of us to listen first and hear what the DOT is proposing. But at the same time, this is our community. This is something we're very passionate about. So it's time for us to be able to speak back and have a conversation. You know, we're up here on the stage, which is kind of funny because we want this to be more of a conversation and less of a lecture or a presentation. When we turn over to the DOT, if you folks have questions, feel free to raise them when you have them. Basically, tonight we want to have a positive conversation, one that the DOT can have an informed consensus on from our community so they can take it back to their side and get the plan refined and improved upon to meet our needs. So with that, I ask for the public's respect. I ask that we keep comments orderly and raise your hands to be recognized and just keep things positive because really this is a renaissance moment for our town. We have a downtown road that is in obvious need of repair. We have sidewalks that are equally as need of repair. So if we do this right as a community, if we do it together as a community, this is a renaissance moment for us, and I'm very grateful to the DOT and for you all to be a part of it. So with that, I'll turn it over to the DOT.
Thank you, sir. So this is what my wife gets to deal with at home in my poor sense of humor. It took me 20 minutes to try to find an engineering joke the other day, so I figured I'd share it with you. And you've got 3 attorneys and you've got 3 engineers, and they're going to be going on a train from Germany to another country in Europe. And they get into the train station, and the attorneys go up and they buy their 3 tickets. And the engineers go up and they buy 1 ticket. They start walking to the train. The attorneys say, well, how are you going to get on the train? He said, just watch. You wait and see. So they get on the train. Attorneys go to their seats. Engineers go. And right before the bell call comes, they run into the bathroom. They get a knock, knock, knock. Ticket, please. 1 hand sticks out. Ticket goes. Ticketmaster goes by. They go sit in their seats. The attorneys, they're pretty impressed by this. So return trip comes home. Attorneys say, we're going to do the same thing. So they go up. They buy 1 ticket. Engineers go right through the line. Attorneys say, how are you going to do this? Just wait and see. So the attorneys quick jump into the bathroom, have their 1 ticket ready. Engineers wait about 2 minutes, and then they go knock on the door. Ticket, please. So anyways, my name is Mark Malone, and thank you guys for coming out tonight. What I'm here to do tonight is to just hopefully have a discussion with you guys. I don't want to be somebody that is presenting or teaching anything. It's our opportunity here at the DOT to discuss this project with you and gain your insights and gain your ideas. We are obviously talking about highways 385 that go all the way through the downtown of Hot Springs. As we talked earlier, we're here to exchange ideas. We need your opinions. This is what helps us make our decisions on this project. We've got a lot of things laid out. We've had some very hard work by some very great designers. And we need your opinions on how these things are going to go. And now one thing I'm going to ask is that if you have some questions or some thoughts, maybe this parking, you'd like more of this or less of that, is that we need those and we want those. But remember that we've got limited space. You guys know this town better than anybody. And we've got the limited space that we've got. So if we're going to take away something or add something, let us know the other fact. Because if we need 25 cents and we propose 2 dimes and a nickel, if you want to have some pennies in there, well then we need to take away a dime or take away a nickel and add some pennies, so forth and such. So if you guys would help me out in doing that with your comments, that would be very much appreciated because it'll help us to determine what you guys really want for your town. So the last time that we were here was a couple years ago, and there was a great promise that we were going to be back very soon. And in my eyes, this is almost very soon, 2.5 years, but unfortunately it didn't happen that way. What I do think that you guys will hopefully understand is that we had some good reasons for this long time frame in between these meetings, is that we had well, first of all, you guys know the complexities of this project and the width restrictions that we've got and all the environmental issues that we have. And one big thing was, how are we going to get this done with traffic? And how long is it going to take for the contractors? How many years are you going to be doing road work in Hot Springs? Okay, so we actually went above and beyond what we normally do, and we did some extra processes throughout that we'll talk about here. One being a constructability review that we actually visited with contractors that could possibly bid on the project and what their suggestions might be to lower costs and expedite the project. Another one would be the pedestrian bicycle safety assessment that we did. What this bicycle and pedestrian safety assessment was, is this was a directive from the US DOT, and every state participated in this, and we choose one project, okay? And with everything that we've got going here in Hot Springs, we figured this place was the absolute perfect spot in our state to take a look at this and look at it from a bicycle standpoint and from a pedestrian standpoint. So way back in May, we had a number of people from town here. We had city officials, we had state officials, we had federal officials, and we had local residents participate in this bicycle pedestrian safety that we looked at, and I actually recognized plenty of faces that were at this as well. And so we took a look at that, and we took a look at this constructability review, and back to the beginning of my story, 2.5 years passed since our last public meeting, and so I got to apologize for that, but hopefully you understand where we're coming from. In the constructability review, like I kind of mentioned, is that we actually talked with 3 contractors that would likely bid on this. And one of the things that we determined is instead of having 2 projects, like you may have heard before, was maybe going to be a split right where the highways come together, is that we're looking at actually doing 1 project. Now, one of the things that will happen with 1 project is that you've got 1 contractor instead of possibly 2. Okay. Now, if that contractor can work through the winter, we're talking a difference of 350 days as compared to 500 days of construction. And I'm sure you guys are like every other town, is that you want to get this construction over with as quick as possible because it's a burden to everybody, the pedestrians, the bikes, the walk. Where's traffic going to go? We took a look at that. We talked to them. How are we going to sequence this project when we're paving it and all that stuff? So again, went these extra efforts to try to see how we could best utilize our funds and also most efficiently get the traffic through town and get the construction done so that you guys have got this great project done. So how does the DOT review projects? We take a look at traffic, we take a look at crashes and we take a look at costs, okay? Because when we look at a reconstruction project like this, we've got capacity, we've got safety, and we've got condition. The 3 C's that we look at. And that's just like we talked about. You have to weigh one, look at another, and see where the costs lie, and then try to make responsible engineering decisions with those. And what we've done so far is all of this, which produces all of that in that other room that many of you guys have looked at. And we'll go into a little bit more details in a little bit. But when we're looking at it from a traffic analysis standpoint, that's our numbers of cars. You know, we've got to take a look at where's traffic signals warranted, where are turn lanes warranted. Visited with a couple folks in there about we've got a turn lane maybe that should be needed here. Maybe we've got more locations that you think, hey, we need a turn lane, or hey, we need a traffic signal. Well, we can take a look at those numbers and see if that's something that we've missed. We also take a look at truck turning movements. That's a very important thing. You guys are aware down there where the bollards kept getting hit. Well, we purchased a building so that we can have enough room so that trucks can turn on 18, heading to the south. Those are all different types of things that we take a look in our traffic analysis. Our crash data. This roadway, fortunately for us, doesn't have any glaring safety issues. There are a few locations where there can be some enhancements, and maybe you guys noticed a few of those, where we try to enhance the safety and make it a little bit safer. But fortunately, with the amount of traffic, this 12 injury crashes and 27 property damage, yeah, we want to lower that. Everybody does. And hopefully we've got portions of our design that will help that. But for the traffic that we have, it's not that awful bad. One thing that we did look at, we've got 4 pedestrian crashes. Now that's a little bit of concern for us. And so we do have some stuff in our design that will hopefully help that. Like, we've got bike lanes proposed, and we've got sidewalk on both sides proposed, and we've got different parking that's proposed. And here's one big change. This intersection you guys have seen down at 6th and River, is that we're taking this intersection right here away, and we're moving it back up to here. Because of the elevation difference here and the skew in the multiple roadways that we've got going on there, we're taking a look at putting this road down here and then tying in South River down here. So this is one of the bigger changes that we've got as far as alignment goes. But as I visited with somebody the other day, the rumors of going off alignment and through houses and around the VA and this and that, hey, I understand where people have concerns with that. No, that's not what we've got proposed. It's pretty much all in the same alignment. It's pretty much all the same that we've got here. And what we did through those pedestrian reviews is that we're trying to enhance everything within the project. The pedestrian accessibility, the bicycle accessibility, all that sort of thing. Hopefully you guys would agree with me that we're trying to come here and enhance everything that we can for you guys. I kind of already talked about this stuff, but we've got different, we can't say that we've got 2 lanes through the whole project, because you guys know we've got a turn lane here, and then it widens out to 4 lanes, and then it goes back to 2 lanes. We've got these width restrictions. But one thing we did try to do was we did try to put sidewalk on both sides through the whole project. And for the most part, we accomplished that. There's a few locations across structures or whatever that we may not have been able to do that. But we did get sidewalk on the whole thing. We did try to get some boulevard sidewalk to get some separation from the roadway. And the minimum that we're looking at from any sidewalk perspective is 5 feet. Okay, that's just our, on most highways, if you've got sidewalk next to it, it's going to be about 5 feet. So that's the minimum that we've got here. And any time that we've got sidewalk that's right next to the roadway, we call it curbside, is that we try to make that 6 foot, just to give that extra foot of buffer for the comfort of the pedestrian as well as the driver. And when we're talking a typical section, this is what engineers call this. So in engineer speak, if you cut a line through the road and you're looking, hopefully this depicts what we're calling a typical section. But we've got 14 foot, what we're calling a shared lane, and the bicycles would utilize the gutter pan and the outside 3 foot of that when it's there. And then the vehicles utilize the inside 11 foot. So basically we're planning on 11 foot lanes, room enough for bicycles to share the roadway, and then also again, sidewalk on both sides. And this is just a couple different examples of things that we've got proposed. One thing we've got is that we've got diagonal parking, actually reverse diagonal, and we'll talk about that in a second. And we've got parallel parking, and we've got the shared bike lanes, and then we've actually got this whole 5-foot of bike lane when you've got a driving lane as compared to parking. You need a total of 5 foot in between them. So again, if you're seeing, say, parallel parking, you're going, gosh, I like my diagonal parking, valid point, okay? We want to hear those. What do we get rid of? Where do we take the extra width from? That's what we want to know. What's your guys' preference on this? So again, this is just a proposal, and we want to get your opinions. So this loss of parking that you may see is an effort to accommodate the bicycle and the pedestrian. So that's one of the main reasons that we've got that. Parallel parking, diagonal parking, and reverse diagonal parking. We'll talk about that for a second. Okay, diagonal parking is what you've got. You just go in at an angle. Okay, this reverse diagonal parking, I've heard comments of, boy, that's tough, that's confusing, we'll never be able to get that. Let me put it into perspective for a second. The reverse diagonal parking, when you're going out of the parking spot, you gotta back up. Or if you start the reverse diagonal parking, you back up to go into the parking spot. Okay, so if you're driving along and you want to get into your reverse parking, you slow down, you put your blinker on, and then you just back up right into the parking spot. What's the benefit of this? Okay, remember we talked a second ago about the pedestrian hits that we've had? If you're backing out of that parking stall, when you've got a bike lane that's there and extra pedestrians, are you going to be able to see that pedestrian or that bike or the vehicles that you're backing out into the traffic lanes for? Now, if you're facing ahead when you're trying to enter the roadway, you can take a look both ways, and it's much easier to see. So you're gaining numbers of parking spots by having that diagonal parking, but being in reverse, it's actually making it safer for the driver and for the public that's around the vehicle. So if you've got any questions, I'm certainly willing to entertain in front of everybody any questions that we've got on the reverse diagonal, because I understand it's a new concept. It's not even it's just a concept that's kind of starting to catch on within the engineering world. And we have talked to a few people that have been in Utah and down in that area, and they just sat there and they watched it and they go, at first they said, wow, that looks silly. And they're like, wow, that works really well. And amazingly, it actually helps out the safety, and it can reduce those pedestrian hits that we're worried about. Yes, ma'am?
We moved here from Connecticut, and we had it there, and one of the things that mothers loved was that the doors, when they opened up, your children couldn't run out to the street because they were kind of surrounded by the door being open.
That's an excellent point. For everybody's information, moved from Connecticut, and another benefit was that when you backed into your spot, you're coming from the sidewalk. When you open the door, it allows your kids and you to enter into the car without having to come from the roadway to do so. So that's another added safety benefit. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
Back when we had the last meetings and discussed this issue, I contacted businesses in Austin, Texas that had just switched over. I have a business on Main Street,
Okay.
and frankly, they were very unhappy. One business reported a decrease in business of 20%, and another business had to purchase a separate parking area because this was a lot of tourists on business and, not people that didn't know the area, so they were not stopping at their businesses. So Austin, Texas was very unhappy with it. One business gathered 900 signatures to present to pass change.
Fair statement.
Hurt their business.
Please write those comments down. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Yes, sir.
When you back in there, the pickup is going to take up another 3-foot sidewalk. Because you'll back into the real fit curve. So you got 3 foot more vehicle
Fair statement.
What if you plan you're gonna do with that, make the sidewalk another 10 foot wide?
The comment was is that if a pickup backs into the sidewalk, into the reverse diagonal parking, is that then it would hang over the sidewalk. And that's definitely a concern that we would have to look at, and that we take a look at the sidewalk widths in those locations. But valid point, but something has been brought to our attention that we reviewed, so. But very valid question and point. So here's just a little bit of signing and how that reverse diagonal parks. And again, this is a proposal. If you like it, please let us know. If you dislike it, please let us know. Okay? Diagonal parking versus reverse diagonal parking takes up the same amount of space. And I know there was conflicting comments last time, so hey, we're here together, you're gonna put your thoughts, so let us know. That's what we're here for. Just a few facts on some of the safety, and you guys can read this in your handout as well as I. But the basic is that reverse diagonal is definitely safer than standard diagonal from what the studies are showing. Okay, I wasn't privy to the information that you shared, but from the studies that we've looked at is there are safety benefits with reverse diagonal parking as compared to standard diagonal parking. We talked about all this already. What are we talking about when we're talking money? This is a big one. This is a big project. Okay, like we said, we're going to have 2 projects. We've actually got this estimated at around $23 to $24 million. Okay, being invested in your guys' community. So we hope you guys see the enhancements are really here. We're investing. We've got a large investment that we hope will really help you guys, and we hope you guys really enjoy. We're looking at 2 construction seasons. So that contractor has 350 plus working days like we talked about, but of course you can't work every single day of the year. So we're looking at 2 construction seasons, but we are looking at 1 project at this point. And currently they are scheduled for 2019 and 2020, but most likely we're looking at 2020 and 21. With the caveat that we've got to make sure that we've got our funding, which we just got a recent highway bill that kind of has solidified that, but still, you never know our funding issues and our scheduling issues and stuff like that. We've got to make sure that the design and the right-of-way and all that goes in a timely fashion. And then we can get that done, hopefully in 2020 and 2021. One of the big questions we get when we come with reconstruction projects was, how's traffic going to work? How am I going to get to my business? How are people going to get to me? Okay, obviously we don't have a great detour route in this town. So we're looking at keeping traffic right where it is. And is it going to be a headache? Yeah, unfortunately it is. But that's the growing pains that we have when we come with a reconstruction project. And I think you guys could all agree is that the condition of this pavement really kind of needs it. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at keeping traffic there, and we're looking at keeping it open to the businesses. We're not going to shut down any businesses during construction. That's not what we're looking to do. We're trying to look to work with you guys in different avenues, how to get them there, how to get people to your stores and businesses, and get everybody to be able to get there. So this design that we're working on now, we're still in a planning phase. And the difference, somebody asked earlier, boy, it's going to take forever to get this thing. It's 4 or 5 years down the road. And it seems like a long time. And actually, when we're looking at 4 years for us right now, we got to hustle. And we're going to do it. We're going to try hard. But we got to hustle. Because of the way the planning process goes, and then the design process goes, and then we've got right-of-way processes that we've got to go, because we've got to appraise people's property, we've got to negotiate with them, we've got to visit with them, and we've got to do all these different things with the plans in order to get everything right. Because we are talking about $23+ million here, so we've got to do it right. So this planning process has leaked into the design process, but our right-of-way process, where somebody may contact you to talk about your specific property on the project, if you have impacts, we're looking at a year or 2 from now. So that's when we're probably looking at doing something like that. Fortunately for you guys, I don't think you'll have to see me again. And the next thing you will hear from the DOT is if you've got affected property. Now on the flip side, if you have questions or concerns, you can feel free to contact me. My information's in there, and I'm more than willing to visit with any of you about the project at any time. So, except only during business hours. So now, let's again open it up to questions, comments, concerns, and we'll go with that for a while. And then we've got the layouts that are in the other room. And then there'll be a number of us DOT folks that will be in there to answer your questions there as well as in here too. So we'll stay here as long as people want to talk with us. I saw one in the back there. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I kind of like that diagonal parking business. I can see that being a real boon for body shops. Got them little old ladies that can park one sideways in an 8-foot garage, so I mean that ought to be kind of interesting. But
I understand your concern with the
question I
reverse
have-
diagonal parking, and it's a fair statement. It's kind of one of those. We go through a lot of these, fear of the unknown a little bit, and like I say, some people that have talked with people and have seen it, maybe they don't like it. But other people that we've talked to have seen it and experienced it and really do like it. So again, that's a fair comment. Please let us know.
then the other comment was, do we really need a bike lane?
What? Sorry?
Do we really need a bike lane through town?
Well, when we looked at our bicycle and pedestrian assessment, that's one of the things that we identified that could enhance the roadway through town.
You might
And
find
it's
a bicycle
fair
a month
question.
downtown.
Pardon me?
You might only find a bicycle a month downtown, and that's a tourist coming through.
And you've got a valid opinion, and that's, again, please write it down. Let us know that you'd rather have this and not have bike lanes, and we'll certainly take your comments.
The other one on parking is between the police station and the Evans Hotel. You got parallel parking in front of all the businesses, diagonal parking across the street. Why can't that be swapped?
It's another valid comment. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Two things. My mind went off here. One, I'll take the last one first. There are a lot of bikes that go up and down, and I think there'd be a lot more if we felt safer about it. I think it's important to have bike lanes. And have safe ones, so that you don't have to worry about how fast is that going, and you've got kind of uphill going down, whichever direction that is. Which makes it hard. But the second thing is, last time you guys were here, there was discussion about having some reverse diagonal parking practice, maybe down across from First Interstate here, or State Farm, that so people can kind of see it, because it is unknown.
Yep.
But, what we have right now, the diagonal parking, I understand from retired traffic officer that I know is like the most dangerous. And so, if we want to still have parking, then we need to consider these things, maybe we'll have a chance to try it.
That's a good
It's not right
comment.
in the most congested area.
And that's a good comment and something we have discussed. And again, we hear one comment that likes it and one comment that doesn't. So the people that haven't spoke up about this certain issue, we want your comments as well. This is how we can make the decisions that's best for your town. And definitely something we can look into as far as doing a temporary. I know it was discussed in the past, and to be honest with you, there was different conflicting thoughts since it is such a new process and a new way to get vehicles stored on the side of the roadway. So we just haven't done it at this point, but it's definitely something we can entertain. I see it.
Have you considered the shared divided walkway by way, rather than having parking, walkway,
The comment or the question was, have we considered putting a shared bike lane and sidewalk versus having the bike lane on the roadway? Okay, and that's a great question. Now the difference between the two is the commuter bicyclists. Generally the commuter bicyclists would like to be sharing the roadway with the vehicles because they're traveling at a higher rate of speed, and they don't want to be dodging and weaving people that are either walking or pushing a stroller or whatever the case may be. they are using it for a transportation mode of getting to just, you know, almost at the same speed of the vehicle. And so generally when we're looking at that, is that we put those bike lanes on a shared roadway. But if it's something you're very concerned about, it's definitely a valid point, and I know I've heard a conversation more than once that we have specifically talked about it. So, fair comment, yes. I'm going to get over here, I'm sorry, sir. Yes.
I own a couple of businesses on River Street. One of the businesses uses tables on the sidewalk as a cafe. And I'm concerned that the proposal narrows the sidewalks significantly. In the summer, which is our primary tourism time, we have quite a few tourists walking on that sidewalk. We share the sidewalk with people with motorized carts. A lot of wheelchairs, there's a lot of that here. I want to make sure that there's proper consideration given to the width of the sidewalks in that area, because we depend on that tourist walking traffic on the business side of the road as opposed to the other side in order to drive traffic into our business.
It's a fair statement. He's concerned about the sidewalk widths in front of the businesses in reverse to the sidewalk across the street, which would be for accessibility. Now, the sidewalk across the street, especially if there's parking there, would be there for accessibility to get to the intersection, so people aren't jaywalking or going across the road in other specific locations. We want to keep them at the intersections. We want to get them crossing the roadway at the safest spots possible. And so that may be the reasoning for it. But take a look and have us come in here. Maybe we've got some plans where we can visit about how wide it is now as compared to how wide it is in the plans. I don't know if we've got a scale with us, but we can maybe sort of scale it off and see what there is there. But it's definitely a valid concern, and if we think we need more width there, again, where would we like to get that from? And it's a great comment, a great thought. So.
Is this project currently in the 5-year construction program, or is it ending entry in the program?
Good question. Is the project in the 5-year program? Okay, the way that we run it, we call it our STIP. It's our Statewide Transportation Improvement Program. And we actually changed that a couple of years ago a little bit. So now it's a 4-year program plus a 4-year program. So it's kind of like an 8-year program, really, is what it is. And what we do is that the first 4 years are called our construction portion of our program, and the outer 4 years are called the development portion of our program. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to, internally, we assign some years for scheduling purposes in those outer 4 years, but those kind of flow back and forth based on the flux of the schedule. Now, the 4 years in the construction program, those are ones that we really want to try to keep. And the only way we move those is if it's absolutely necessary. So we try to get all our planning and preliminary design done to a point that we feel confident we can move them into the 4-year program. Okay, so right now, if this is in 2020, I got to try to do the math in my head. So I think we'd be finally putting that into the first year of our construction program. This next year is kind of what we're looking at right now. But again, we just compressed this to 1 year, and so this is tentative at this point. I'm talking within a couple of months. We're still in the planning phase, and we'll be developing our STIP this coming May with that.
Will the funds be available in time for work?
Will the funds be available? That's a great question. And when we put something into the program, we do anticipate the funds to be available. Okay. Now, we just had our newest highway bill signed. I believe it's a 5-year bill, and it actually accounts for inflation every year, which is a change from the past where we kind of anticipated stagnant funding without inflation. So we are actually anticipating a small increase in funding every year now for the life of the bill. Now, the solvency of the federal funding, that's something I can't quite answer. We're going to keep going under the assumption that we do have our federal money, and I'm quite confident that we do. I'm very confident that we do.
Will you assume that you will be receiving primary funds from the federal government?
This is a federally funded project at a ratio of around 80% federal, 20% state. Yes, in a red hat.
My question, Tom, is I'll ride my bike in the summertime some more than I'll drive my car because I can save money and save money that way, so I won't have to pump gas every so often. But I've always been concerned, like when I'm riding my bike through town, there is no bike path for us bikers because we gotta keep an eye on our bike, we gotta keep an eye on the traffic, and we gotta keep an eye on the people that are trying to back out. And I know like in Colorado, and especially in Fort Collins, they do have a bike path. And I've seen it how it works down there when I visited my aunt and uncle, and I think it would help a lot of people who do ride their bikes to work or to church or to wherever they're going, is if we had a safe bike path in Hot Springs.
Fair comment?
Can you talk a little bit
I'm
about...
sorry, hold on, I'll interrupt. Ask what was said. Support for a bike path in town is what we're talking about. We've got a gentleman that likes to ride their bike to save gas in the summer especially, whether it's to church or to a job or to see whatever the case may be, and support for a bike path maybe even off the roadway. And that's a good comment. I know there are portions of town that do have a shared path. But if it's something that you'd like wider sidewalks or something like that, again, fair comment, please let us know.
Could you talk a little bit about how you anticipate traffic being during construction, whether it be temporary signals, whether it be a lot of stop and go, or the surfacing be less than ideal at certain times?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Have you factored delays, anticipated delays?
I don't know, we probably haven't calculated that per se at this point. We try to do as good as we can with the construction activities. And if we've got more detailed traffic questions during construction, we've got our area engineer and engineering supervisor over here to your right. I'm sure they'd be more than willing to visit with you. But again, as a general sense, we try to have as minimal impacts on traffic and the businesses as we possibly can. And the contractors are very diligent about that. And I know there's been extra efforts in the past 5 to 10 years to try to enhance that process with working with the contractors and the DOT.
So we got eliminate parking then on River Street while that resurfacing is being done in order to accommodate the traffic overlay?
And you mentioned at a point, and hopefully this will clear it up, this isn't just resurfacing, it's total reconstruction. We're totally tearing out the storm sewer that's under the road. We'll be digging it down multiple feet. If there's not bedrock that's there, we're going to totally be tearing and gutting everything out. It's totally going to be new. And in the end, it's going to look great. And during the interim, while construction is going on, yeah, unfortunately, it's just, if you've been in Rapid City recently, Jackson Boulevard was gutted, Mount Rushmore Road is being gutted and reconstructed, and I was just recently on it. It looks beautiful, it's great, it flows smoothly. But yeah, my dad and I used to live right in the location where it was kind of a headache, especially getting into and out of church right across from Canyon Lake there. So I understand the pains that happens with that. Yes, sir.
I'm not an engineer, but it would appear that the section of the roadway from the Elks Hotel to the Legion Bridge is the most difficult to manage. Has any consideration being given to a cantilevered walkway on the west side that actually extends over the river to provide additional roadway and sidewalk and parking?
There has been, the question is, there been consideration given to cantilevered sidewalk or roadway over the river, generally on the west side of the roadway. And there has been talks about that, but as a general consensus is it wasn't cost effective to do something like that. And one thing that we definitely didn't want to do was impact that wall that goes along the river there for so many environmental and hydraulic reasons. See you ahead of that.
Assuming that people Hot Springs would agree to do the reverse parking, and say it doesn't work out, how difficult would it be to change that back?
How difficult would that be to change back from reverse diagonal to standard diagonal parking?
Right.
I don't see it being a huge issue to do that. It's something, it's a surface, you know, you've just got the paint on the surface. You don't have to rip it all up. Now, if it's concrete and you're grinding in, that bears a little bit more of a burden. So if we're doing concrete and we grind it in, then it would be something that would definitely be a lot more of a burden to change.
Why can't you change it now to back-in parking and get people used to the idea and see if they like it?
That's a great comment, and we have that. So that's at least 2 that we've heard now, and that's great. I'm glad we're hearing this. We've got at least 2 comments in that we want to try it now, and definitely something that we will consider and take back to the office and discuss. I don't know which was first. I'm sorry.
Depends on the angle.
Ready to go.
I ran into
If you turn in a short angle, back off the front end or whatever. That should be a steep angle.
I like the diagonal today, it was great for us. Is there something we can do?
It doesn't make any difference which way you're back over to that bike. Which way you're back over and back in the middle, back over and getting out.
Okay. There was a comment and a question. The comment was down in Florida, experience with reverse diagonal parking with a lot of elderly folks that lived in that area, and it worked wonderful. That was a comment. And the question was the lighting and how much space it may take up in the sidewalks or whatever. There can be considerations given to what types of lighting, what types of light poles. Generally, the footings are larger, but the actual poles themselves aren't as big. And that's one reason that we would go to a 6-foot sidewalk versus a 5-foot sidewalk, to try to get extra room for those light poles. And in front of the businesses, we'll try to go all the way from the back of the curb all the way to the business. We're not going to create any sort of gap in between the business and the roadway. We're going to fill that all as the large sidewalk like it is now. But yes, that's definitely a concern of how the lighting fits into the design and where we have room for our signs on those light poles and stuff such as that. So it is a big consideration that we take a look at. So I had one right in the middle there.
Couple of questions. Do you have to have reverse diagonal parking throughout the town? Or you can have headed parking in some places, like for example, I'm thinking along the road where Jackie, the earth is headed towards the bridge over the river, towards the Legion. Backing uphill could be somewhat disturbing for some folks. Does it make sense? Or would you have to have diagonal parking reverse throughout?
The question is, do we need to have reverse diagonal if we put that in all locations? First of all, if you take a look at our design, there's not a large stretch of reverse diagonal parking. It's only a couple blocks. Okay, it's not the whole town. It's not anything like that. And to try to change it from one direction to another in different blocks, generally from an engineering standpoint, we like to try to keep things consistent. So that probably wouldn't be the best idea or something that we would pursue. Definitely a great thought, but generally we'd like to try to keep parking like that consistent.
Another question with the realignment of the intersection of 6th Street and River Street, would there be any traffic control or any stop signs or lights?
There's one signal planned, and it's escaping me right now. I believe it's at the corner of 18 and 35 there, but I'm probably wrong. Yeah, I'm getting a head shake that I'm not incorrect.
So those added stop
But
signs.
stop signs would be the norm for side streets coming in. And where it's realigned on South 6th Street there, is that would then continue straight through. And you'll be able to see it a little bit better in there if you take a look at that.
But
I think
would
it'll
it be a four-way stop or just the side street stop?
where that road comes to the highway, if I remember right, it looks like a four-way stop. So with stop signs, yes. Oh. Okay, she corrected me, designer. It is a stop sign, and I maybe didn't speak properly. I meant there's the side street stops, the highway goes, but it is a stop sign at the streets. So I misspoke, not a four-way stop. It's stopping from the side streets going onto the highway.
Yeah, question about the, or clarification about this construction itself. I'm specifically talking about North River Street, there along the river. There's 2-3 blocks there that are, fairly a problem. When you say you're gonna tear out the entire street, does that mean the sidewalk too?
The sidewalk will go, a new sidewalk will be put in.
So, and is there going to be a sidewalk on each side of the street?
You'll have to take a look at the exact locations, but for the most part, yes, on both sides of the street, there will be sidewalk.
Because right now, it's a 9-foot sidewalk in front of my building. So that's going to be cut down to 5 or 6 feet, like you're concerned. And then there'll be another 5 footer on the other side, or something, 5 or 6 on the other side. Yeah.
Very possible. If you want to take a look at, I can't say with certainty the exact width dimensions and stuff like that, but if we go in there or we talk in the office, then we can definitely discuss more exact dimensions.
There definitely is room in that street, in that area, where designated bicycle, maybe a sheriff.
And you're exactly right. There's not enough room. We don't have enough room to do everything we want, and we're very restricted in the number of things that we can do. Like I said, we've only got room for 25 cents, and how do we break that quarter up? How do we do it? And so, again, that's why we want your opinions, and we need those to help us make the most responsible decisions.
In defense of that reverse parking thing, I worked for a P&D company for 5 years. They implemented for the drivers that they had to do the backup parking as delivered. When they implemented it in 1 year, it cut their accident ratio to 90% in 1 year.
Statement that mandatory backup parking for a company reduced crashes in 1 year by 90%. Great, thank you for that.
What provisions have you made for U-turns?
U-turns will be very similar to what they are now. Back on the aisle, I saw it. Over there, okay.
The problem I have with the backup parking is now any place you try to park in town, you're on a major highway with tourists, they are not expecting you to stop and back into them to get into a parking place. Now, if you try to parallel park downtown right now in tourist season, you're liable to get run over because the guy behind you is not expecting you to stop and back up to get into the parking place. So if we're going to do this, are you going to have some kind of signage to warn people that the cars in front of them may very well stop and back right up into them?
Well, there's a sign in here, and I don't know if this is, to be honest, I don't know if this is according to the MPCD and what is allowable to put on a street as far as notification for a parking type. But as a general sense, you stop or slow down in front of it, you go just past the spot with your blinker on in that direction, and then you can back right up into it.
And then the car behind you is about halfway into your car when you back into it.
Like I said, no different than parallel parking, which is also what you said is a concern of, and it's the same ballgame both ways. So, let's go here.
I just wanted to also say thank you for obviously putting, and the DOT putting a lot of thought into this. I think it's going to be great when it's done. And I sure like this plan better than cutting off the Main Street, which was the original plan. And I also do want to mention that, and I don't know if this was reported to the DOT, but there was a public meeting held specifically on the diagonal parking. And of everyone that showed up, there were only 4 people, and I could name 3 of them that were for the diagonal parking. It was pretty much unanimous for those 4 people that the city was not for the diagonal parking. And I realize there are people here tonight that think it's a good idea, but we were thinking. But we had a meeting in the city 2 years ago, and I'm sure there's notes that it's reported in the Star.
I'm kind of new to the project. I don't know if I have notes on that specific meeting about that or not. But again, I think right now where we are with the proposal that we have, I would certainly like to see what kind of opinions we've got out here. And it sounds like we've got some on both sides. So the more opinions we get, the better decision that we can make. And very likely, a lot of these decisions will impact our decision. So, how about this? In the interest of time, and everybody's probably needs to get home, and Lord knows I do, driving all the way back to Pier. What I'd like to do, if possible, is if we could start to meet either in there or in here, and we've got multiple DOT staff that are around, and we'll be around to answer questions and visit with you for a while, if that's all right. So I thank you for your time and your cooperation here tonight, and I look forward to seeing all your comments. Let me see one more thing, sorry. How do we get our comments? You can email them to me, that's probably the easiest for you guys. You can write them in the back sheet of your handout. You can mail them. You can write them on that sheet and leave them with us tonight. It's all, all information is in the back of your handout. So, again, if you have any questions. That is in error. If you get it to me by December 29th, 2015. See, we were supposed to be here in December. Sorry. 2 weeks, please. 2 weeks.
Angles with the requirement.
Yep, January 21st. And it is correct on your sheet in the back. I missed it in one place. My apologies.
Basically just like
There's a comment sheet that would be posted on the website. If you Google South Dakota DOT public meetings, you can get to this public meeting and get a comment sheet in there as well. Or come to speak with us and continue information.
Follow up on that as well. We have the Star, have a city project out there as best we can. At this point, I want to thank the DOT again, and thank specifically Mark for presenting. I mean, he has fielded questions from over 100 people, 100 questions from over 100 people. I would hate to do that. I appreciate you having the courage to do that. So let's give the DOT a round of applause.